You, me, and Mr. Brown. From the biggest company to the shoe manufacturer next door, we all seek profit, maximum profit.
Most people think, wait a minute, you're not talking about productivity there, you're talking about innovation.
Someone else said that profitability is a measure of how smart we really are about our business.
There are a couple things that everybody is talking about and nobody knows exactly what to deal with.
I define profit as the cost of survival.
We cannot predict the future. I don't know of anybody who can.
If profits have always moved and shaped economies of all kinds and all times, what makes profits so different today that companies like Microsoft, Ryanair, Comcast, Dell,
strategy. And what, there's a regional competition first and then a national?
are dramatically reframing their business models? Profitability, the inexhaustible engine of business. Everything we know about it is true, but dangerously incomplete. Being profitable has been the ambition behind each and every business plan. According to conventional wisdom, when you buy low and sell high, you earn a profit. But it's not so plain and simple.
Someone else said that profitability is a measure of how smart we really are about our business.
The company has to make profit. I define profit as the cost of survival.
But I think for many companies, the fundamental answer is profitability equals resources to reinvest in the business.
I think it's the same basics, it's just that profitability has two ends to it. One is revenue growth, and the other was cost, and they each have an equal vote when you subtract them, okay?
If we can create profitability that's very high, we have the resources to invest in innovation, to create new value for our customers, and to improve the training and the capabilities of our employees.
An important element of profitability is creativity, and an important element of profitability is discipline. Both are important.
When Apple sets a price for its iPod, there is more to it than just the cost of the device plus a margin.
Back in 1999, Steve Jobs had just come back to the company. He was looking at these trends of digital music.
And Apple created the iPod system, the iTunes Music Store, and the alliance with the music producers to provide that whole combination of features to the consumer.
People are flocking for these products, are willing to pay more. In spite of the high prices, they sell huge volumes.
They became the customer's first choice. And today, Apple and the iPod have something like 70 to 75% of the market.
Market structure, perceived value, market share, scarcity, abundance, innovation, lifestyle. These are only some of the changing factors that determine profitability. In fact, profitability is a puzzle.
Well, I think in the case of systems and processes, you're looking for productivity gains, you're looking for efficiency, you're looking for minimum cost, maximum effectiveness, you're benchmarking versus your competition.
Another mistake that we very commonly see is overreaction to competitive behavior. So often what happens is a competitor takes an action and we immediately respond and do some of the same thing, even if it's not important in the marketplace.
In the case of the creative part of the organization, you're typically looking at the reaction of the people who are responding to the creativity.
Wherever there is profit, there are essential forces that cause it to happen in a particular situation. And if you, me, or Mr. Brown want to find out how to put the pieces of that puzzle together for our businesses, we should, as Taichi Ono, the soul of the now profitable Toyota, used to say, ask why 5 times. By the 5th time we explain our decision, we will start getting closer to the real answer.
Toyota is profitable with a very high profitability. Why? not because they are cheap, but because their quality is so excellent. They have built up a very strong brand image.
BMW, German automotive manufacturer, may spend money to get a customer. That customer, they make so much money from selling that car to them.
In many other industries, however, you can be very successful at the low end. And to think of Mr. Brown and the furniture business, there is a very, very big market there. Case in point, IKEA is phenomenally successful at extremely low price points.
Walmart is not successful because of the low prices. Walmart is successful because it combines a consistent, reasonable quality with low prices.
But look at the business design that they have built. They've built a network of suppliers that are ultra low cost. They have built a logistical system that is extremely low cost. So they have built a fantastic business, but with a very different business design than the traditional models.
The acid test of experience shows that there is no recipe for profitability. There are lots of profit models. For example, 20 years ago, the largest market share player used to be the most profitable in each industry. Think of General Electric and its famous rule, be first or second in market share, or find your way out of that business. Over the last decade and a half, the classic rules of strategy have started to break down, and not all companies that gain market share gain profitability. Besides, new entrepreneurs have produced tremendous innovation and profit models that are making the world rethink business fundamentals. When talking about profitability and its patterns, there is a name that inevitably comes to one's mind: Warren Buffett. Berkshire Hathaway, his investment management company, is still among the 10 most profitable firms from the Fortune Global 500. Even before becoming the Omaha Oracle, he was a fan of business fundamentals. Since he started investing more than 50 years ago, he has always looked for businesses with superior economic characteristics, controlled by successful, skilled management teams, and with long histories of above-average earnings growth, like Amazon, Gillette, or Coca-Cola, which turned out to be one of Berkshire Hathaway's most lucrative investments, one he still holds since 1988.
Most owners of equity are investing not for the dividend, they're investing for growth.
Is Starbucks. And for the last several years, it's been one of the fastest growing companies and fastest growing brands in the world. So one should ask, why is the pressure to grow? And the answer is the stock market, and investors sort of force you into growth. But then the question is, how do you grow?
They're investing to protect that profitability and to grow that profit over time. And so the high profit companies certainly have the ability to give an appropriate dividend to the investor.
Look at Gillette. For razor blades, they are by far the most expensive. They have by far the highest market share. Why? Because they deliver the best value and people are willing to pay more.
But what the investor is really interested in is, if the stock price is 20 today, how can you make it 50 to 100? And the high profit companies have the best capability to reinvest to make that happen.
In a time when diversification, portfolio management, speculation, and short-term profits were at the top of the hype, profitability depends on the strength of a firm's fundamentals. In Coke, Buffett saw the most consistent long-term growth of perhaps any corporation in history, without making any changes to the core product in 100 years. When he bought in, Coke was enjoying its 25th year of consecutive dividend growth.
have been times, there have been decades, there have been centuries where they haven't had good decision makers.
The biggest example, IBM, lost tremendous value in the late 80s and 90s because value moved away from hardware towards software and chips.
It sort of is interesting because some of the strongest brands, because they're so strong around their brand, have trouble proliferating into other products.
Case example, Sony was worth $130 billion in 1999. It's down to $55 billion today. At the same time, Apple, during precisely the same period, has moved from being worth $10 billion to being worth $120 billion.
And you see, Sony is at the verge of bankruptcy because their profit is simply too low. This leads me back to my motto: profit is the cost of survival. If you neglect that cost, you will go under in the long term.
Collapse that happens to the old business model isn't necessary if you anticipate that shift and start changing your business model early enough to respond.
But when you get high quality decision makers coupled with a capitalistic kind of system that you're operating, it's a powerful match.
Bulls and bears, market fluctuations, macroeconomics, or market predictions would never tell you what to do, even in times of economic crisis. Again, in the 90s, Buffett let go of the three-digit returns of the dot-com bubble. He waited until 2003 to buy Amazon, one of the strongest bubble survivors. In Amazon, he saw that profitability made up for risk.
If I run a very successful business, usually the person who can see my risks most clearly is someone outside my business. Someone like the customer, someone like a supplier, someone like a venture capitalist who is investing in my domain.
Amazon books. Amazon was also known for search and having a lot of variety. So to go from books to videos, pretty easy for them to do.
It was very hard for Barnes & Noble to see the importance of Amazon. It was very hard for Sony to see the importance of the iPod.
I think one of the core ones is to constantly just run your business today just like you did yesterday, because it seemed to work okay yesterday.
Why? I can't tell you, but it is that law of perception. We don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. We see them through the filter of our successful business design, and the last thing we want to know is that we have to change something.
Today, Amazon has not only emerged as the undisputed e-commerce champ, it is on the verge of turning profitably real, one of the most ambitious new growth initiatives in the company's history, sharing its computing infrastructure with startups and corporations. So, Amazon came out with flying colors from the e-business boom. Now, it's the turn of stars from the networking universe like Facebook or MySpace to show that they can create a market and a profitable business model out of millions of raving fans.
There are a couple things that everybody is talking about and nobody knows exactly what to deal with. And the question is just how we harness that and to try and take advantage of that.
Value migration is a process that happens when value or market capitalization moves from old business designs to new business models, new business designs that do a better job for the customer.
Because of some websites that have started up like Facebook and MySpace, there's all this thing called social networking. So, and by the way, we treat it as if it's a totally new phenomenon.
When customer priorities change and when industry economics change, unless I reinvent my business design to match the new market and economic reality, I can easily lose 80 to 90% of the value that I've created.
Okay, what are the basics here? How am I really going to excite this consumer?
From the crash of the 80s, to the internet bubble, to the credit bubble, some things have changed, some others have not. We are quicker to see that burst coming. No need to wait for the analyst review. We can feel it in flesh and blood. Profitability is not only a number in the quarterly report. It is a habit we build day to day in our own business. The question is, how? In the 80s, Robert Kaplan, a Harvard Business School professor and expert on strategy and performance, came up with something that was changing the pulse of profitability. Financial measurements weren't sufficient to guide companies to success. They were just measures of past strategy. Companies were creating a great deal of value, present and future, by building customer relationships, by delivering superior quality, by attracting and retaining terrific employees, by training them to create even more value for customers. Then, there was more to business success than just good financials.
It's very simple. Volume, price, cost. So you have to control all three drivers.
The key drivers of profitability begin, oddly enough, outside in with the customer.
And their profitability is much more important than just in case competition has done something smart.
The assumption that most markets are highly competitive is totally wrong. Most markets are not highly competitive.
The other half of the equation is to have the right cost structure and pricing system to convert the value that you've created for the customer into value for the shareholder.
Price is the most important profit driver. The price is about 2 to 3 times more effective as a profit driver than volume.
Well, I think that you need both approaches. You need good, strong analytics to try and get the best assessment possible, but you also need incredibly good instincts around what it is that's going to help the business be successful.
No doubt, the time to make sense of the profitability puzzle had come. Back in those times, one of the first to sense the shift was Bill Gates, who was quick to sort out one of its more important pieces. During a meeting to review Microsoft Word, the world's leader word processor, Gates got caught by the first slide of the presentation with neither graphs nor charts on market share, growth, profit projections. The lowlights on it dazzled him. Those bullets with the product weaknesses were a call for action. He immediately decided to summon the lawyers of the company. Why? Gates knew that lawyers were heavy users of word processors. In a couple of minutes, he was discussing the future of this everlasting star product with a critical piece of the puzzle: customers.
Value to customer, the most important, by far the most important and the most neglected one.
Microsoft is not going to get a competitive advantage by its financial systems, and we need high creativity in terms of developing those products to excite consumers.
It will always be your biggest growth opportunity because you will be the first to detect changes in taste, changes in style, changes in preference.
Interestingly, the companies that are doing the best with that are those with the best data.
And if that happens, you have the best lead time to develop either the new products or the variations or the services.
In order to get the fresh thinking, that's when you ask your people to take the time to just go watch users use their product.
That's how a company builds the foundation for superior future value creation. By bounding up with customers, by meeting their needs, by exceeding their expectations, by excelling in key processes, by performing better than competitors consistently. Walmart does it, That's why the world's biggest retailer has a sustainable competitive advantage, a consistent combination of reasonable quality, efficient supply chain, good management, and low prices. Walmart delivers what customers asked for.
What you need to know is what's important to the customers. And that's what it is that you should be taking actions on and what you should be responding on, but not follow everything that your competitors do.
Markets are competitive, price aggressive. Mostly they are price aggressive if the companies behave in a stupid way.
Companies get frequently blindsided by changes in what customers want. It happens in technology, it happens in financial services, it happens in retailing.
You're not stepping back, looking at the numbers seriously. You're not stepping back and saying, what are the consumers really thinking about? And what are those unarticulated needs that I spot as I view consumer behavior, people using my products?
So don't just look at the impact in today's terms, but look at it over the lifetime of that customer.
For better or for worse, customers always changed, but today they are changing much more quickly than before. What they want, what they will pay for, what their preferences are, what their dislikes are.
Customers, employees, people. Outside or inside your company, people are the lever that moves the world of profitability.
Behind costs are innovation and process.
As you run parts of the organization, you need to acknowledge the fact that there are parts of this we should be incredibly efficient. And then there are other parts where we ought to pour the resources on, because that's where we need the real creativity in order to excite people.
Microsoft is probably 3 to 4 years behind in responding to the Google business model.
I'm going to get to your Google example in a second. On Google, what was Google known for? And were they so associated just with America? Were they so associated with just search? And they started proliferating some of what it is that they were before they got too narrowly defined.
Google itself is in a very, very good position, but when you're most successful, that's the time to start worrying about value migration.
So you constantly need to ask, how do I increase the innovative capability of this organization? What are the tips in regard to how do I increase innovation?
And if Google stays with its current business model for the next 3 years, expect its value to fall.
The challenge is to make money there, to make a profit there. This will be very difficult. You need totally new products. The question is, can you make money?
Most people think, wait a minute, you're not talking about productivity there, you're talking about innovation. Well, innovation is all about profitability.
Innovation, creativity, cutting-edge management, people are the new triggers that break through volume, price, cost, the traditional profit drivers. In a world in which markets, industries, and business model changes are neither few nor insignificant, it's nothing but natural to wonder how Mr. Brown, you, me, can match in today's picture of the future. Profitability. For some, just a short story of making money. For others, the behind the scenes of success. For all, nothing but the delicate balance between opportunities and threats. An obsession and a challenge, the question about profitability strikes as lightning. As the idea of a new business awakes you at night, making you think, how?
For reasons that it's difficult to explain, unlike hazard risks like fires or earthquakes. Strategic risks, if they are seen early, turn out to be a highly unconventional but very effective way to find your biggest growth opportunity.
So you end up with things like the Prius. In other words, an industry-leading alternative, not just a refined process on how to make these cars more effectively and more efficiently.
If I'm serving the luxury customer, my costs are important, but they may not be as important as my service, my design, my presentation, and my customer relationship management. If I am serving the low-price customer, I absolutely must have the ultra-low cost position, and I must carefully understand what are the services the customer really wants and will pay for, and what will they not pay for.
The low price, the very low price segment, I call it the nano price segment, like the new car in India, is the fastest growing segment in the world.
So you're measuring customer satisfaction, you're measuring your performance of your product versus competition to see where you have the edges. So they are distinctly different measures, and you have to acknowledge that.
A third example is for Samsung in 1998. CEO of Samsung took that problem head on, made a series of very tough and courageous decisions.
But that's a very difficult, challenging way to manage.
And as a result, he turned that risk around into an enormous opportunity. The brand value of Samsung tripled in the next 6 years after he made those decisions.
The way to profitability is paved with examples of does and don'ts, recipes for the big and the small, waves of information and a portfolio of choices. But, as you can't trace a copy of a Picasso and call yourself an artist, you can't copy another company's business model and call yourself a master of profits.
Commonly acceptable ideas are parody. Creative ideas are distinctive, and they have something to say in the marketplace.
I think the point of departure is what customer is Mr. Brown's company serving? Are they serving the luxury customer? Are they serving the mid-market customer or the low-price customer?
I have a local florist near where I live. So, small little store, didn't have a computer. What she had was a little index box and wrote cards out and kept a calendar and knew to contact this customer to remind them it's time to repurchase.
What is it that the customer wants and will pay for?
Yes.
And how do I create both an economic structure and a pricing structure that makes it possible to be profitable?
And by doing that and having information about specific customers, she was able to determine, this is a good time to try and promote to me.
Volume, price, cost. So you have to control all three drivers to achieve a sufficient profitability. Most companies fail in that regard.
And it is most important for Mr. Brown at the furniture factory or any businessman, whether running a $10 billion company or a $10 million small business, is the important thing about anticipation is to be in a position to react quickly.
So accountability in both quarters, the creative quarter as well as the discipline area of the organization, is key.
You have to learn how to think independently, to play with the colors and textures of your business with inspiration and discipline, with markets and customers, products and processes. You have to let your passion play its own game until you come up with the best profit model for your company facing the future.
We cannot predict the future. I don't know of anybody who can. But the wise man can anticipate what is about to happen. When we do ask or try to find out what's different about the customer, We shouldn't go in with an attitude of what do I need to know, but rather with the attitude of what am I afraid to find out.
Here's the nature of our business model. Here are the set of products. You know, what's next? How are we going to evolve this business? Make it run better? What are the bright ideas? So,
will any supplier be allowed to make money in this industry? And if so, what's the specific business design that I have to build that makes it customers' number one choice?
Again, very simple. Value to customer, innovation, processes. These are the essential drivers.
I'd say 2-3 golden rules are, the first is begin with, am I the customer's first choice? The second is ask the question, how exactly does profit happen in our business?
again, the really talented people that everyone's after are the individuals that are well-rounded enough to understand, okay, now this is an area where we want to be very efficient. This is an area where we need to be highly creative, and we need to watch how excited that consumer is.
And I think the third is make sure that everybody in the organization understands how we actually make money so that they align their efforts and their actions behind it.
That's when you make the decision to reorganize the organization so they know that the dream of the future is this new organization, and you've jumped ahead of yourself and reorganized it before you've actually achieved the dream.
Thousands of pages have been written on the book of profit models. Still, it always keeps a fresh page for you. But beware before you sign it. Remember that the blank page is no blank check for profitability.